Shalom, covenant keepers and children of Israel. You're listening to Awaken to Torah Ministries, where spirit and truth converge. We are a listener-supported ministry and ask that you prayerfully consider supporting this work. This ministry is focused on revealing the message of Torah as taught by our Jewish Messiah, Yeshua. Your donation will be used to further a ministry devoted to exposing the lies that we have inherited from our forefathers, as Jeremiah 16:19 clearly declares. You can contact us at 77690 South 4680 Road, Stillwell, Oklahoma 74960, or join our mailing list at awakentotorah@gmail.com. We look forward to meeting you when we once again are sheltered by a cloud by day and a fire by night on our way to Jerusalem. Shalom Aleichem, and we'll see you there. All right, Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to the Tents of Israel. I'm your host, James Gillespie, here with my co-host, Mr. Chris Jones. Mr. Ryan Knoll is not with us tonight. Let me bring Chris on the monitor here. There he is. So me and Chris will be hosting again tonight. For most of you realize we had a couple hurricanes hit the country and kind of tore some stuff up. So that's part of what Mr. Ryan Knoll does for a living. Is he's an assessor, so he has to go out and work these storms, and he's on the road right now because they're just running him all over the country. So he may not be with us for a few weeks, but tonight I thought most people are consumed with the election. And I know if you live in one of these battleground states, you are probably so sick of commercials that you want to get a shotgun and shoot your TV the next one that comes on, because it's about a senator or a governor or a state representative or the president of the United States every other commercial. But those of us in like Oklahoma and Texas, we don't get a whole lot of that because Oklahoma, our state, normally red. Texas, it's normally red. I think
it's turning colors though.
well, they're trying to say that it's going purple, but them homos that stole our rainbow, they can't turn it another color. So it's got to stay red. I was born and bred in Texas, you know. I saw this big old sign on the bridge down in Texas. It said don't California Texas. so that's the problem. A lot of these people that live in these liberal states, they get priced out. I mean, like if you know anybody from in the continental United States from Hawaii, you ask them, what made you leave Hawaii? And most of them will reply, they got priced out of paradise. And that's what's happening to people like in California. I grew up a little bit in California. I mean, in between Texas and California. And when I was a kid in California, I loved that state. I mean, it was on the verge of going woke at that time. But I think I spent I want to say fifth through maybe ninth grade in California. Moved back here in high school into Oklahoma. But I remember it just being good, honest, hardworking people around the Modesto area, Modesto, San Francisco, around that Bay area there. If you got outside of San Francisco, it was like Oklahoma and Texas. Just good old hardworking country folk just wanted to make a good living for their family. And but what happens every time the liberals move in and they're like, well, I think it would be good, if we let men use the bathroom in women's bathrooms, and we let men get in a boxing ring with women and punch them in the face and break their nose. That seems like a good idea, and they begin to push these things. And if you don't like that, Chris, well, you're just a misogynist. You're a male chauvinist. What you're saying? Women ain't as good as men? I mean, I've been in the military the majority of my life, and I'm not being chauvinist in any way. You get hit with a taser, and you watch what the effects of a taser on a woman versus the effects of a taser on a man. You get hit in the face with CS gas. You watch the effects of a woman. You watch the effects on a man. We react two totally different ways to pain stimulus, and that's not being sexist. That's just stating an obvious fact. You let Chris or me punch a woman in the jaw, and they'll put us up on attempted murder charges. Now, maybe not them California foo-foo boys with the buns on their heads. And sorry. My toxic masculinity is coming out tonight.
Yeah, it's coming out of your beard, man.
Yeah, I guess so. I let that gray get.
We can just see that slippery slope coming out from the whole feminism movement as well. I mean, it's just taking its final course. I mean, that if they think that there's let's just say they're the same. Men and women are so the same now. You can't even differentiate between what genitals they have. Then I guess the natural progression is they're going to let them get in a ring together, and then they're going to figure out that there is a distinction between the physicality of a man and a woman, even though they still deny it when they're getting their jaws broke. I mean, it's insanity is what it is.
It really is. And I don't know any, well, let me say I know some people pretending to be Hebrew people that try to control their wives and domineer them and keep them under their thumb and that male chauvinist garbage. And we combat that stuff all the time. I ain't never met a stronger, more intelligent woman in the world than an honest to goodness Hebrew Jewish woman. I mean, if you know our culture, they are the matriarchs of our home. We don't put our jobs, we don't put our wives or our children over our wives. They are the focal point of our home. Because they understand their role as a wife in lifting up their husband and praising their husband and supporting their husband and all of it. And it's just such a beautiful thing when it begins to work like it's supposed to work. And I dare one of these weak feminist women standing, burning your bra, try to come up against one of these honest to God goodness Hebrew women. They'll tell you how to eat the cabbage and show you how he did it too.
Yeah, that's right.
These women they're tough. I'm telling you. So that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about this identity politics tonight, where I grew up and I was always told my whole life, there's two things you don't talk about: religion and politics. So me being the knucklehead that I am, the only two things I ever want to talk about is religion and politics. They're the two things that kind of hit me at the forefront of my brain. And right now we're probably in the most pivotal election cycle probably in our lifetime. And I'll tell you how much I love politics. I'm only 52 years old, but I remember Ronald Reagan. I remember him standing at the wall and saying, "Tear this wall down." I remember all that stuff because it was so pivotal to who we are and who we were becoming as a nation in that period. We had just got rid of Jimmy Carter, which was the 1.0 version Joe Biden. Joe Biden's a 2.0 Jimmy Carter. I mean, twice as bad. Probably going down as, I mean, Jimmy Carter in modern lifetime, I probably would say was the worst president for Americans in American history. I think Joe Biden said, "Here, hold my beer." He's definitely going for the worst. And I mean, worst economy, worst recovery. I mean, that we shut down the entire United States. 90% of all jobs, everybody lost their job except for essential services. Okay, so some essential services held their jobs during the pandemic. Did I say that right? Maybe I got that wrong. Maybe I got it right though. But 90% of the people lost their. Oh, by the way, this is satire. This whole thing is satire. We don't mean a thing we're saying here tonight. Don't give us another strike on YouTube and kick us off, because this is just a comedy show. Everything we're saying here is, we're not doctors, we're not lawyers, we're none of that stuff. So don't believe a word we say, except believe everything we say. So when we investigate these types of things, and we try to put politics in a biblical perspective, I wrote this little article because this scripture, this whole election cycle has played over and over in my mind, that says, if my people who are called by my name would humble themselves and repent, turn from their wicked ways, that I would hear their prayer and I would heal their land. So when I think about that scripture and I think about that promise from Yahweh to us as a people, I think that if we're truly repentive, then we need to take the steps of teshuvah to try to undo the things that we have done. So if you believe the narrative that God doesn't give us the leader that we want, he gives us the leader that we need, which I believe that's the truth. If you're a wicked nation, you get a wicked ruler. If you're trying to be a godly nation, if you're returning and repenting, the Father's going to give you the opportunity to do that. And we see that in Scripture. I think with, I know everybody wants to talk about David, but Josiah, that whole story of Josiah is the narrative that I think that we're looking at right now. No king that we ever had. Here's the one thing, Chris. How many times have you heard this from believers? Well, a vote for evil, or a vote for the lesser of evil, is still a vote for evil, and I'm not going to vote for evil. Duh. It says that we're all evil. We're all wicked. Our very natures are wicked. So what you have to do, I mean, me and Chris were talking before we went online here. We got a king. Saul was arguably the only one that maybe had an electoral process, because we wanted him because he was head and shoulders above everybody else. But all of our other, and I made the point that Samuel even chose him. But anyways, if we, as the nation of Israel, would have stood up against the kings of Israel and not allow them to lead us astray into violation of Torah, then we would have remained a nation. We had prophets that went to the kings, and if the people were standing behind the prophets and going, yeah, you got 10 million people against a king, the king, it's going to sway the king. But we didn't, because we're afraid. Most people are afraid of power. Okay, so that's why these people they'll spend $10 million to get elected to a $187,000 a year job. That math doesn't compute. I mean, you're going to spend $100 million for a $300,000 job. All right, let's see, 12 years, so $1,200,000 job. You're going to spend $100 million to get $1 million back. That doesn't even make sense. Because when it boils down to it, though, it's all about power. These people don't do that for the money. They do it for the power, because true power has nothing to do with money. Money is what you and I and Chris deal with. That's how our little minds get some power. We get a little real estate or a little bank account or something like that, and we think we got a little bit of power. No, these people, they're orchestrating nations. They're thinking way above a dollar amount. Now, in fact, they can change the banking system tomorrow, and we have nothing. I mean, that's real power. I mean, and they could literally do that. They could close down all the banks tomorrow, change it up, and we're just back to zero.
Yeah, but it does start with those people who get in positions of power having the ability. If they don't already have wealth, they have wealth. I mean, I've got friends that are wealthy that get the ear of governors. I mean, because they're rich.
Yeah.
I mean, and the bank account size that we have doesn't afford us to have DeSantis come to our living room and hang out with us for a weekend. So, I'm just gonna play the advocate here and say that wealth does have a lot to do with being you in a position of power, even though when they gain that power, they're not getting a lot of money from the people who have put them into power.
Our wealth gives us the ear of power, because they know that we have power over our employees, over the people that are basically following us, and however it was that we got our money. So they know that we have the ear of numerous people. So that will give us their ear as well. But I mean, as far as the money aspect of it, they don't care about the money. Other than your buddy can donate $1 million to a campaign and help that person get reelected without them having to spend their own money.
Yeah, because they got the money already up there.
Exactly. So when the politician goes to office flat broke and in debt, and 2 years later they leave a multi-millionaire on $100,000 a year job, something's wrong. I mean,
yeah, that don't compute, does it?
Yeah, the math just doesn't add up. But it seems to happen more often than not. These politicians, and we say that you don't go to Washington. Nobody started a political career to be corrupt. I don't think. I think they all went with the best intent. Now, some of them I don't agree with their politics, but I think that probably originally what got them into politics was they felt like that there was some kind of injustice, and they thought that they had a voice that they could speak to that injustice. Whether I agree with them or not is irrelevant. But they go to Washington, and then the next thing you know, they wake up after one of these Washington parties in a hotel room with the 13-year-old girl laying naked in the bed beside them, and a portfolio of pictures saying, now you do what we tell you to do for the rest of the time you're in Washington, D.C., or this is going to be made public. We're going to destroy your life. I think if we knew how many times that had happened in our government, we would, and far, far worse. I think that we would just be astounded. But I think that knowing all of that, knowing the evil, knowing the corruption that lies at our government's core. I mean, Donald Trump has really put this magnifying glass And now when somebody talks about drain the swamp, they know exactly what you're talking about. Swamp monsters. They know exactly what you're talking about. Nobody knew that terminology before except Washington insiders. But Trump just kind of brought all of America into their vernacular. So now we kind of understand their vernacular a little bit better. But I want to caution people as well. I mean, because I see this almost idolization of Trump. And I'm telling you, I don't make any secret about it. He's got my vote. Tuesday morning, I will go down there and I will fill in my little box right beside his name. I think that he is the absolute lesser of two evils. I think that the Kamala is dangerous. That's just my opinion. I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm not trying to sway you. If you think that she's the better candidate, that's not what I'm doing here tonight. And so if you want to vote for Kamala, I don't think that that's the right thing to do. But I'm not going to tell you that you're garbage. I'm not going to tell you that you're a weak man. That's a male chauvinist. Just don't want a woman as president. I'm not going to say those negative things about you. I'm not going to talk about tampons in boys' bathrooms very much. I didn't notice I didn't say it all. but
yeah,
I'm not going to talk about old Tim Walz fairy dancing. His cowboy rodeo giddy up gear there. I don't know if anybody's seen that video.
I don't know that one, and don't send it to me.
Oh, you don't want to see it. You don't want to see it. It's
no, I don't. Woo. I don't. You said enough already.
It was a Halloween surprise, I will tell you.
Oh my. No.
Yeah, you don't want to see that. Nobody wants to see that. I can't burn those images out of my eyeballs though. So it's that bad. But let me. I'm just gonna read this article real quick. It's 4 paragraphs, and then we'll just go from there. Where did I put it though? There it is. I'm gonna jump over to that screen. King Josiah of Judah, one of the most remarkable kings of biblical history, stood as a beacon of righteousness and reform during a time of spiritual decay in his nation. At only 8 years old, Josiah began his reign, but by the time he reached the mid-20s, he undertook radical steps to purge Judah of idolatry, restoring the nation to covenant fidelity with Elohim. His reforms were not only an act of personal faith, but a deliberate national shift toward Elohim's law. Josiah's story reminds modern believers of the critical role righteous leadership plays in influencing a nation's direction. Just as Josiah boldly led Israel into alignment with Elohim's will, today's believers have the opportunity to influence their communities by supporting leaders who uphold godly principles. 2 Kings 23:25. Scripture underscores the power of influence in leadership, teaching us that when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when wicked rule, the people groan. Proverbs 29:2. The actions of leaders affect everyone under their authority, and the Bible repeatedly warns against passivity in the face of unrighteousness. Josiah's commitment to righteousness wasn't merely private. It was public and transformative, resulting in a national return to worship and obedience to Elohim's commands. Like the people of Judah, believers today are called to support and, where possible, elect leaders who respect Elohim's standards. Voting in one way for modern believers to influence the direction of their nation, echoing the wisdom of Proverbs 29:2, by promoting leaders who will enact righteous policies and protect moral values. The New Testament reinforces the responsibility by exhorting believers to pray and to support leaders who enable godly living. I urge then, first of all, that petitions, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings and for those in authority, that they may live peaceable and quiet lives in godliness and in holiness. 1 Timothy 2:1-2. A peaceful and godly society flourishes under leaders who embrace godly principles, and believers have a role in cultivating this through voting and civic engagement. Through prayer, though prayer is foundational, responsible action, such as voting for righteous leadership, always allows believers to contribute to an environment where their values are respected and upheld. In closing, in every generation, Elohim calls his people to take a stand for righteousness. Voting with discernment and biblical values aligns with this call, reflecting the commitment to seek the welfare of one's community. Jeremiah 29:7. Josiah's courageous reforms show that leadership aligned with Elohim's word can have far-reaching positive consequences on a nation, spiritual and moral fabric. For believers today, voting is an opportunity to affirm godly values, supporting righteous governance, and take this stand for biblical truth in a way that honors Elohim and contributes to society's well-being. Now let me pull me and Chris back on the screen here. You know, I write those little articles because, especially like in a setting like this, I'll get to rambling and I'll forget what I wanted to say. Because my old man disease kicks in. And when I was a kid, I walked both ways in the snow, uphill both ways to school. Well, maybe I'm not that bad yet, but it's getting
no shoes on.
Yeah, no shoes. It's getting that. I can see that influencing my outlook a little clearer these days. The rambling, but when we think about this civic duty to vote, I realize that some believers have real moral, well thought out aversions to voting. Okay, for whatever reason, they cannot see what I see in Scripture. They're blinded to it. I believe that Scripture actually compels us as a society to speak truth to power. Okay, and the only vehicle we're afforded to do that in this nation is our personal voice. You know, call your congressman, call your mayor, call your state leaders, call your president, call those that have rule over you, and just let them know your opinion. Now, does that mean they're going to take your opinion? I'm not delusional and think that when I go, fill in my little box down there, they're like, well, that's who James voted for. We got to stick with that. That would be nice, but that's not what I'm expecting. What I am voting for, I'm not voting for Donald Trump this election. I'm voting for righteousness. And I'm not saying that Donald Trump is righteous. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that my vote, when I go into a voting booth, always is well thought out, well educated towards righteousness. Whoever is supporting the righteous fundamentals of Scripture in a greater way, that's who I'm gonna vote for. I don't care if they have a D in front of their name, an R in front of their name, or an I in front of their name. That makes no never mind to me. Okay, I want to know. My number one thing is, are you for killing unborn babies? If you're for killing unborn babies, yeah. I'm done. I'm not voting for you. And here's the thing. I mean, right now everybody wants to kill unborn babies. So if you want to stop killing unborn babies at 6 months, and this person wants to stop killing unborn babies at 9 months, I'm gonna go for the guy that says 6 months. And until we finally get a guy that says no, not at all. I personally believe, and I made this statement numerous times, I personally believe that in in 50 years that the barbarism of killing our unborn babies will be looked on almost in a like a caveman type environment. That it's gonna fulfill people's minds with such disgust, realizing that we are breeding ourselves into extinction. I mean, you've been lied to about this population control and all this kind of stuff. 8 billion people can fit in Texas, people. I mean, that's the population of the world. 8 billion people can easily fit in Texas, and the land can provide for them. But you'll believe this narrative that we're overpopulating the world and we're going to kill each other off because there's just not enough resources. Come on. I mean, open that thing that Elohim gave each one of you, which is called a brain, and begin to think about it. Go look at the square acreage of Texas. I think the last time I did it, it was like 2 acres per person. If you put every person in the world, every person in the world could live in Texas and have 2 acres of land. I'm telling you, for a family of 5, you can farm 2 acres of land and sustain yourself. You don't need to even go to the grocery store if you got 2 acres of land and you know how to farm. You got neighbors next to you. They got goats. They're the neighbors. They got chickens. You got cows. Well, there you go. Everybody's got meat. Everybody's got milk. Everybody's got cheese. Everybody's got eggs.
Yeah, now you're getting back to people relying on each other in community, though, and that loses the control of the big government.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. But how do we begin that road back? And that's where I'm going. That's where my vote's going to go. That's where I'm going to go into that. That's why I'm going to get up and take a shower so the person next to me don't have to smell me, and I'm going to walk into a voting booth and I'm going to vote, because I want to return to some sense of normality where people know what they're putting in their body. I like this Kennedy guy. Ted Kennedy. Not Ted. What's his name? John F. Kennedy Jr.
I don't think it's Junior. I know you're talking about Senator.
Yeah, he's a senator. RFK. RFK.
Oh, is it RF? Okay.
Yeah, it's RFK Jr. So,
Robert Kennedy.
Yeah, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. That's his name.
Okay.
But Trump gonna put this guy over health. Well, this guy he's 100% about getting all these names out of our food that we can't even pronounce. I mean, you sit there and read the back of a Coca-Cola can. You can't pronounce 50% of what's in that thing, but you're putting it in your body. So that tells me you absolutely don't know what you're putting in your body. If you can't pronounce it, you don't know what it is for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm telling you, I'm sitting here with my hand raised up. I'm guilty of I try to be pretty conscious about what goes in my mouth, but man, I'm telling you, sometimes it's just cumbersome. And we live in an environment where you go to the store and you think you know what you're buying. I mean, we ran into this year. We bought the same thing because I've read the ingredients on the back of that package 100 times. I know what's in it. We go to buy the same thing, and then somebody's, hey, this has the monosodium glutamate in it? No. When did they start putting that in there?
Yeah.
I don't. I'm just making stuff up. I don't know.
No, I mean that's real stuff, people. Monosodium glutamate is destroying your brain and everything else.
Yeah, I mean it is. It's these chemicals that they're putting in these additives and preservatives and that kind of stuff.
And these bioengineered. I don't know if you saw those, the bioengineered products now that they're just slipping in, and we don't know what they're bioengineering them off of. So
my sister-in-law sent me something today that had it was supposedly Bill Gates bought a certain amount of shares of Pepsi Cola because he wants to put nanites in Pepsi and Coke products. Why are you putting nanites in Pepsi and Coke products. I mean, if you're not trying to control people, if you're not trying to kill people, I mean that if you listen to him and Bill and Melinda Gates' plan on basically killing 90% of the world's population, because they have bought the lie. You talk about these climate conspiracy nuts. You talk about them all you want.
I think they made the lie up, didn't they?
they made the lie up and then convinced themselves it was the truth. I mean,
oh yeah, they definitely think it's true. Yeah.
So I mean, you tell a lie so much you convince yourself that it's true. It's not even a lie anymore. It's not even a lie anymore. They could take a polygraph test, and I believe that they would pass it.
Oh, 100%.
If you ask them, is the world overpopulated, and are you doing your civic duty by injecting all of these Hindus and Indians and Africans around the world with your poisonous whatever? Are you doing the world a service by giving them all of those favors? What's that we're gonna call them? Favors?
Yeah.
Favors that end up killing you. Again, this is all satire, people. It's all satire. So, if I say something that I'm not supposed to say on YouTube, it was just simply a mistake. So don't give us another strike and take us off the air, because we talk about stupid stuff, and hopefully people can see through our stupidity. Let's just put it like that. We live in a serious world, and I mean, we're talking about serious stuff in trying to make it in a comical type way, but I truly believe that this election can be pivotal for this nation, and I say that while disclosing that I still have this patriotic bone that. I mean, I think I was born with it, and I've never had a patriotic appendectomy. So sometimes it still weighs me down because I love this country, and I have traveled out of this country. I have been in third world countries, and I have seen the way that those people live. And I'm going to tell you, as bad as this country is today, as politically in the toilet as this country is today, this is still the best country in the world. That's why people are dying in boats today. There's thousands of people going to die in a boat today trying to make their way to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just the truth.
That container. I mean, they're jumping in, man.
Exactly. I mean, packing in there like sardines and riding in 140-degree temperatures inside a shipping container. Open it up every day on a dock. They find a shipping container full of dead people. I mean, why that's not on the news, I don't know, but it is. That's the reality of the world we live in. And I mean, Russia. If you understand what's going on in the world today, they want Russia to, because there always has to be the boogeyman. These powers that are in place, you have to have a boogeyman. So I truly believe that China probably is a boogeyman, like a real one. I mean, they've been plotting in this stuff for 500 years. And they don't care if it takes them another 500 years to accomplish it. They'll go as slow as they need to go, but they're going to ultimately accomplish their task. Okay. But the United States has forced Russia into the place that they're at right now. Russia is the same as the United States. They want to take care of their people. And if you look at World War II, if it wasn't for the United States and Russia, there would not be a Jew alive. So I hold an affinity in my heart for both United States and Russia. Now, do I think Putin's a great guy who is a everything that motivates him is about God? No. But if you look at the politics, the real politics of Russia right now, in many ways, they are much more righteous than the United States.
So he gave a pretty good sermon to the United States a while back, though.
Yeah.
You remember that one?
About letting homosexuals.
Hey, he says male and female people. You know?
Exactly. And they don't allow it in Russia. I mean, you can be gay in Russia, but you're not going to go parading your gay flag down the Kremlin. So somebody's going to lop your head off before you get to the door.
You'll get an AK-47 thrown at you.
Well, that yeah. What
with the fast rocks.
The crazy thing to me is, first of all, I want to clarify. I don't hate homosexuals. I hate the sin, because Elohim says that it is an abomination for a man to lay with another man as with a woman. Okay. So when I say that, I want you to know that there's no hate in my heart at all. I love you. I care about you. I'll pray with you. I'll do whatever it takes to help you get back on the right path, because I believe you're on the wrong path. You may believe that I'm on the wrong path. That's all right. I can live with you believing I'm on the wrong path. So you have to live with me believing that you're on the wrong path. Okay. So let's just live in peace with each other. You can call me a fundamentalist, whatever, a homophobic bigot. I don't care. Those names don't bother me. I'm none of those things, though. In reality, I'm none of those things. But in the United States, we have this sect. I believe it's 12% now homosexual, but it's still only 0.06 of transvestites, of those who are medically transitioning. What do they call that? There's another name for it today. Yeah, trans males.
Oh shoot.
Yeah. The big trans thing.
Transitional.
Yeah, transitioning. Yeah, they're transitioning.
Yeah.
So, I believe, in my mind, I believe that that's just a mental disorder. I think that the enemy, Satan, is trying to destroy your life, and you need God in a real way. That's the way I believe. And you may believe that I'm just a crazy old rabbi that don't know nothing. That's all right as well. I mean, I'm not telling you have to believe like me. I'm just saying that that's where I'm at. So when I say what I'm about to say, I want to make that clear, that I am not hating on you. What I am hating on is stupidity, because we have this sect of the homosexual community that is pro-Palestine, pro-Islam. And anything going on in the Islamic State that's against Israel or Christians, this gay sect of the homosexual community will come out in support of it. I mean, how dumb are you? I'm just being honest as I can be. How dumb are you to support people that, if you lived in, because I've been in those countries, if you walk in that country with your little flamboyant skinny jeans and feminine talk, it's going to be about 2.2 seconds before somebody takes you in a back alley and slits your throat, cuts your head off for being a homosexual. These people do not tolerate homosexuality in any way. They don't love you. They're not going to pray with you. They're not going to try to lead you into Islam and get you to repent of being a homosexual. They're going to cut your head off. But you'll sit here and support them over people who just want to live in peace. Because honestly, I personally believe you're going to go to hell if you continue to live that lifestyle. I believe that. Okay, but that's your choice. I'm not trying to convince you that you absolutely have. I don't want to make proselyte and make you twice the son of hell. I don't want to do that. If I can show you the scriptures and you come to faith on your own, great. But I'm not trying to convince you. Okay, all I'm going to do is just give you the Bible. If you believe in the same God I do, I'll try to help you understand the Bible a little bit better. That's my job as a believer. That's what I believe I'm supposed to do. But these people want to kill you, and you'll sit there and support that. This woman that is running against Donald Trump, she has no cutoff date. In fact, in Tim Walz' state, guys, I want to make this clear. I know you probably already heard all this if you're listening to us. But in Tim Walz' state, a baby can be fully born. I mean, fully out of the womb. And they'll decide what has to happen to that child after it's... No, that child is... There should be no debate. That child is born. It is an individual. You have no more right to say anything about that child's life, period. I personally take the stance, you don't have a right to say anything about that child's life at conception. That's the stance I take, okay? So let me make that clear. But I'm going to say, if you're not a believer, if you don't believe in the Bible, you don't believe in anything, human rights, that child is now a separate human being. If it has exited your birth canal, it is an entirely separate human being. And if you kill it then, it is actually murder, but not only murder, the worst kind of murder. The murder of something that cannot defend itself. That same person will do that, but they'll want to prosecute you, Chris, if you take and tie a plastic bag around a kitten and throw it off of a bridge.
Mm-hmm. Not that we would do any of that either.
I would never do that. No, but I'm just saying. I'm just saying, even if you kill a dog in your yard that was menacing your yard, you'll still get in trouble. That's.
I mean, around here, I mean, you can't even do that.
My point about the kitten is these mothers that are killing these babies are like, well, that baby's going to make my life harder. Well, that kitten just came up in my yard. I had nothing to do with that kitten. That was somebody else's cat. It just came up in my yard and made itself home there. It is going to make my life harder. So using that same excuse, they'll prosecute me and throw me into jail, and maybe longer than somebody who actually commits murder for abusing an animal than they would have a woman murdering a baby.
The same court system that says it's okay to murder that child, no matter what the stage of pregnancy or out of the womb. If I push down the mother out of anger and that baby dies in her womb,
murder.
I'm going to prison for murder of that child.
Murder. First degree murder.
Like, well, I mean, first 100%.
So
away for a long time.
Here's another thing.
I mean, you'll get me going now, and then the father can't choose not to be a father, even if the woman.
That's what I was going to talk about right there. So,
he's got to have his wages garnished now. She can choose to kill the baby even if the father doesn't want it. But yet when the father don't want to take care of the child, it might not even be his. He has to take care of it for 18 years. Even if it is his. I mean,
the crazy thing is, the crazy thing is the statistics on paternity tests of mothers claiming this guy fathered their child.
Oh, it's high.
It's like 72%. 72% of the fathers that are supposed fathers are found to not be the biological father when they do a DNA test.
Yeah.
So, but these women, again, I echo what you just said. This woman, now let's say I did have sex with this woman and it was consensual. I thought it was love. I was in love with her. She wasn't in love with me. She decided to go about her merry way, found out she was pregnant a month later. Now a child that I conceived with this woman in an act of love, she can take and murder that child. I have no say, zero say in what she does with that child. Okay, but now let's say she roofied me. I don't even know what a roofie is.
I still call it an act of lust and fornication than I will love. But Keep going.
No. I was married to I was married to her. I was in love with her.
Oh, you're saying married. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
We're saying
yeah.
married. Okay.
Yeah, I was
okay.
married to her, in love with her, but she changed her mind, 2 months into the marriage and exited stage
Okay,
left.
yeah.
You know,
Gotcha.
she can go murder that baby, and there's nothing I can do about it. I don't have a say. But
Yeah.
but and if I go kill her because she killed my child, I go to jail for murder. 2 counts, not just 1, 2. So
Mm-hmm.
now on the flip side of that, now let's say I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, got roofied, and she took advantage of me. And then 6 months later, I'm pregnant. I gotta have all your wealth, James. So, and I'm telling believable stories now. so now, I don't even know that I ever had any dealings with this woman, but now supposedly I'm the father of her child. And I request a DNA test. She refuses one, but she still goes to court. Okay. The only way I can force her into having a DNA test is if I can get a judge to agree with me. Otherwise, I'm still on the hook for this child that she claims is mine. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if a judge doesn't grant me a DNA test to prove that child is not mine, and I refuse to pay child support, I'll be sitting down in prison for it. How is this not upside down bizarro world? But we have a woman running for office right now that sees no problem with any of that. 9 month, baby's birth out of the canal. A doctor can go over there, stick a needle in the back of its neck, and kill it. That's called an abortion. Okay. The horrific. I'm going to be real horrific here just for a second, because I want to drive this point home. If you, which I have, seen the way it's done when I was in medical school, after 12 weeks, when they do an abortion, they no painkiller, no nothing. They reach in there with like pliers with clamping teeth on them, and they begin ripping and pulling pieces of this baby out. Its legs, its arms, its head. Some of these Planned Parenthood places are selling those body parts. They're body parts. So they're selling the stem cells from those to different pharmaceutical companies. If you see the horror of that, I had the conversation last night with a young woman, because she was telling me that she was thinking about voting for Kamala until just a couple days ago, and now she's gonna vote for Trump. And I asked her why, and she said the abortion thing. And so we talked about abortion, and I said this to her. I said, look, I used to be one of those guys that would say, in the case of rape, in the case of incest, or in the case of loss of life to the mother, I would support it. Now, my stance has totally changed on that in the last 20, 25 years. Because an old rabbi told me about 24 or 5 years ago when we were having that discussion. And he said, well, when did the Torah allow us to kill the innocent for the guilty? That child that was conceived didn't rape that woman. It didn't commit incest. So you're going to kill the innocent for the act of the guilty. And I was like, oh, yeah, I have been mind controlled myself into thinking that would be an acceptable thing. I don't take that stance anymore. I say no abortion. for any cause except for a baby is dying in the mother's womb, the viability is not there, it's going to kill the baby, it's going to kill the mom. Now the Torah allows for the preservation of life. Okay, so if somebody's going to die and one has a less chance than the other, that's going to be a choice that a mother and a father are going to have to make with themselves and a doctor. But the other two cases, what did that child do? I mean, what did it do? It didn't do anything. So it's got to die for the sins of another. The only person I ever knew that could die for the sins of another and it be acceptable was our Messiah, Yeshua. Mm-hmm. So I know that that's probably a hard line stance, and a lot of women probably going to disagree with me on that. I'm sorry. I think that abortion is barbaric. I think it is barbarism in ways that our minds can't even truly conceive of. And my tax dollars being spread all over the world to promulgate that, I don't want that to happen. So that's why I'm telling you my vote is always going to be for the less of those two evils. I'm a one track voter. It's going to be for righteousness, and I realize that none of them are righteous. I'm not trying to say that Trump is righteous. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is he's less unrighteous. So my vote is always going to be for righteousness. So if you have one person that says you can't, you got to stop aborting at 39 weeks, and the other one says you can do it at 40 weeks, I'm going to take the one that says 39 weeks. That's just the way my vote's going to have to go. And it's the same on any righteous thing, any kind of sin nature. If one says, you can do it all the way, or you can do it 90%, I'm going to take the guy that says 90%. Okay. Because if we're working backwards, next maybe we'll get one that says 80%, next one that says 70%, next one says 60%, until we can back this thing back down to where we can once again say that we are a country founded on Judeo-biblical principles. Okay. I realize that everybody's a different denomination, but I don't know any believer that thinks it's all right to go murder children. But yet when we dumb down these words, when I say murder, that's a harsh word. You're murdering children. Oh, that's a bad thing. But when I say aborting, that's Planned Parenthood, the way they switch the word. Same word. They both mean murder, but aborting something just is a little bit nicer way to say it. It makes it a little bit more palatable to people. No, it's murder. It's 100% murder. Anything on that, Chris? We're right at an hour.
Oh, I'll just say I like the way you said it. I don't know any believers who would be okay with the murder of unborn children. I don't care if you replace it with abortion. I'm going to stay my stance right there. If you're for the support of killing innocent babies, you're no believer in Yeshua Messiah. Just not. You don't follow the God of the Scriptures. Well, I don't care what you confess and what you think you believe. You just don't.
Even in Catholicism, the birthplace of Christianity, they don't believe in it. They don't even believe in providing contraceptive. Okay, so
they don't believe in it, but more than 50% of them participate in it.
I agree.
Stats.
Agreed. So
yeah, I digress.
We just got
some other stats, but
we got to start taking a stance against that stuff, though. And one of the ways that we can do it individually is through our vote. And here's the thing: if you have honest to goodness, genuine reservations about voting, I am not trying to convince you that you need to go vote. That's not what I'm trying to do. What I am saying is, don't be trying to use excuses for being lazy, for being uninformed, for not wanting to take a stance against this stuff. Don't use excuses to get you out of it. Okay. If you truly believe that Elohim told you not to vote, okay, I'll support you not voting. But I don't agree with you. I'm just the same way I don't agree with the homosexual. I don't agree with you, but I'm not going to condemn you because it's a genuine thing. But these guys that they're just, well, you're mingling in the affairs of the world. Well, I live in this world and I want a better world for my babies and my grandbabies. So anything that I can do to make a better world for my babies and grandbabies, I'm going to do that. And sure, my vote might not mean anything. It may not. They might have decided this thing 100 years ago. I don't know. It's above my pay grade. But right now, I still have the illusion that my vote counts. Okay? And as long as I have that illusion, I would not be able to sleep at night not thinking that I didn't do everything I could do to try and secure the future for my children and grandchildren. And I don't know how other men can. How do you sleep at night? Knowing that you left something undone, you left the door unlocked. How do you as a man not get up and go lock your front door? That you're so lazy you won't get up and go lock your front door to secure the safety of your family when you live in South Compton. Don't make any sense to me. Just not the way I was raised. We'll just say it like that. You live on the down on Rosedale down in Fort Worth, Texas, and you don't get up and lock your door. you got some problems. It's and that's the way I see these people who are just being lazy. Didn't want to register, didn't want to take the time to go register to vote. Now we're 3 days away. As of close of tonight, we'll be three days away from the election. Most people's already done early voting. If you haven't early voted, go vote. And I'm not telling you who to vote for. Educate yourself the best way you can on either side, and go pull the lever for somebody. That way you can blame me. I had James. He voted for old Trump. That's why we're in the mess we are. Okay, blame me. I'll take it. but at least I can say I did what I thought was right, and you can say the same. Anything else, Chris? All right, guys. We're gonna burn rubber out of here. We're gonna try to keep doing Tents of Israel every other week, or once Ryan gets off the road, we'll try to come back and do it once a week as the weather starts getting a little bit cooler. I think all of us right now are trying to batten down the hatches and get our fall stuff put away and get winterized. So the weekends are for those of us that work during the week, the weekends are a little bit harder to secure even an hour of time. So bear with us a little bit more, and we'll get back on here once a week like we were and get rolling again. So we love you, but not as much as Yahweh does. We'll see you next time on the Tents of Israel. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
All right, let's burn rubber out of here.